The Chicago Bulls dropped their fourth game in a row tonight to the Charlotte Hornets, a game full of missed opportunities, lack of execution, the same things that we've been seeing from the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, hosted by Haize, your number one spot for all things Chicago Bulls.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And yeah, despite some late game heroics, some times where the Bulls looked like they were going to be able to pull it together, they beat the Charlotte Hornets coming out of that first half 32-25, right? And it looked like the Bulls were going to gain some momentum. And the Charlotte Hornets came marching right back in this game. And unfortunately, the Bulls just, yes, there was some weird officiating down the stretch of the game. I don't want to act like there's not that. But 5 turnovers in the fourth quarter of this game. In the fourth quarter alone, the Bulls allowed 16 points in the paint and 14 second chance points. That's really what killed the Bulls in the second half of this game, was those second chance points, 14 second chance points. It's hard to come back from that. When you have 14 second chance points, 9 points off turnovers as well, the Bulls themselves scored no second chance point, and they only had 2 points off turnovers. It's just unfortunate. This team is just not having the execution needed. And as somebody said it in the halftime hangout, and they made a great point. When teams show heart and refuse to go away, it's just difficult for the Chicago Bulls at all to really to combat that. It's just unfortunate. And so, overall, the Bulls continued to just lose these games against teams that have now the Charlotte Hornets got their 10th win of the season tonight against the Chicago Bulls. And despite Nikola Vucevic having 40 points in this game, it just isn't. It sucks. It sucks. It really sucks when it comes down to it. This team's continued lack of execution. It's unfortunate. When you coaching was definitely a big problem in this game as well. Billy Donovan's decisions down the stretch left a lot to be desired as well, and this team just did not have the execution or coaching needed. Billy Donovan's reluctance to call a timeout, like, why are you swallowing the whistle? Like, it's okay, call the timeout. You aren't gonna. Billy Donovan seems like he holds on to timeouts like his bonus is determined by how many timeouts he doesn't call. It's really unfortunate. You get 40 points from Nikola Vucevic, 40 and 13 in this game from Nikola Vucevic on 17 of 25 shooting. So it's not like he had an inefficient night. Only 2 of 6 from three-point line, but an overall efficient night from Zach LaVine. Coby White in this game as well, 6 of 7. I don't know if Kobe's gun shy or if Coby wanted to get people more facilitated. 18 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds in this game, 1 steal from Coby White. Coby White played an overall solid game, 3 turnovers, though, from him, unfortunately. You get 8 assists as well from Zach LaVine, 19 points, 6 rebounds from Zach. Josh Giddey, I thought Josh Giddey was going to be near triple-double watch, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists from him, 4 turnovers. Him, Zach, and Coby, of course, led the starters in turnovers. That's pretty frequently with this team. But it's just, again, I keep going back to this. It's execution. Execution. You got things that you should not have to be hurting you in games if you just play better, and unfortunately, you just can't do it. They can't do it, and they refuse to just figure it out, man. This team not only is a team that already has some construction problems, but outside of those construction problems, it's just little stuff that this team continues to lack at doing that they just aren't getting together. They aren't getting it together. 4 minutes for Matas bullcrap. He came on the court when we were down by 10. He finished 4 minutes with +3 and the momentum. He impacted the adjustment, didn't play him again, bullcrap. I mean, what Billy Donovan has said it. Unfortunately, when you get a close game, Billy Donovan is not going to trust Matas Buzelis. It's just evident. Him and Dalen Terry falling out of the rotation. Before the game today, Billy Donovan actually talked about Dalen Terry falling out of the rotation because he wasn't happy with some of his defensive rotations. But and I get it. I understand it's a close game. You want to go kind of with more proven commodities. You got Ayo, you got Lonzo. Lonzo played 25 minutes today. Julian played 18 minutes and he had an overall okay night, but it's just nothing that this team is doing right now feels like a team that's going to work itself out of this rut that it's in. It doesn't feel like a team that's on the precipice of turning things around. I keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it because I need more Bulls fans to understand this. The only reason that the Chicago Bulls are even sniffing the play-in right now is because of Philly and the struggles that Philly's been having. That's it. That's the only reason. If it wasn't for the struggles that Philly has been having, we wouldn't even be talking about this Bulls team potentially even making the playoffs. We just wouldn't. So it's just, I don't even know what to say anymore, man. This team keeps finding unique and interesting ways to just let people down. And when this game started off, they started off with no momentum, right? It got out to an early deficit against the Hornets, and they were able to work themselves back. And that's what it keeps going to. They work themselves back. They get themselves in a hole. They work themselves back, get themselves in a hole, work themselves back. And they don't have enough to compete with some of these teams down the stretch of games, really. They just don't. They don't. And so this is a team this is a fool's gold team. That's what this is. The Bulls are going to look good against some teams. The Bulls are going to have some solid games against some teams. There's going to be some times where you watch this team play and it's going to feel like a team that should be able to make a run or feel like a team that should be able to get into the playoffs. But when it's all said and done, they're not doing it. It's not going to happen. They don't have the type of get up that's needed to really excel or do anything special. They just don't have it. It's evident. It's been clear. This team continually shows us every time that they just don't have it. Whatever it is, they don't have any of it. They don't. So, and no knock on Bulls fans, so to say, the Bulls fans that want to get caught up in what this team looks like they can do at times, cool. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I'm not here to yuck on your yum, but I'm here to be realistic, and I'm here to talk about and review what this team honestly is. I'm not here to sugarcoat. I'm not here to give y'all something that's not going to happen. This team is not a good basketball team. We are not a good basketball team. We don't have the things, the execution, the heart, the leadership. We don't have the things that take teams that have a talent deficit and are able to push it. We just don't have that part of the game. We don't. We haven't had it for years. We don't. Well, we had a little bit of it when DeMar DeRozan was here, as much as, DeMar DeRozan had his negatives as a player as well. But that's really it. And when I used to say things like DeMar DeRozan inflated the Chicago Bulls record, people are like, what the hell does that mean? It's very simple. It means that the Bulls, this team that we're seeing, and keep in mind, we're not that much off where we were last season. But this is what you would have seen more for the last couple of years if we didn't have DeMar DeRozan and what he was able to do in specifically in fourth quarters. Now, DeMar have things that hurt this Bulls team? Absolutely. He had things that he did that hurt this team, right? Defensively, execution-wise, all those type of things, turnovers in the key, all those type of things. But when you have a team that down the stretch of games needed a bucket, DeMar DeRozan was able to get creative. This team just doesn't have that anymore. They don't have that. There's not that on this roster. And because you're missing it, you're going to see more losses like this. This was a winnable game. And that's what makes it more frustrating, right? Not to say that a blowout would have been any less frustrating, but when you have a game that you could win, but you just lack because, again, looking at the fourth quarter of the second chance points, how do you not stop that? That's hard. I'm sorry. To me, that's hard. When you give up that many second chance points in the fourth quarter and score none yourself, that's the team outworking you. 14 second chance points. 14 second chance points. We lost this game by 2 points. You mean to tell me if you could have kept them off the boards for just a little bit, that you could have fought harder for some rebounds, just a little bit, right? You could have still won this game. You could have still won this game. This is a bad basketball team. It just is what it is. if there's many Bulls fans that have been trying to argue and fight and say, well, this team, we're one game out of this, we're 2 games out of this team has continued showed you that they have less heart than teams that are actively tanking. How does that make you feel as a fan of a team where teams that are actively tanking show more heart consistently than the Chicago Bulls, right? Did we forget the earlier season loss to the Nets when Cam Thomas went off on us because they showed more heart and execution down the stretch than the Chicago Bulls? Have we forgotten that? This team has been the same team. The only difference is that they're going to win some games and make it look okay sometimes. Hold on real quick, y'all. All right, dude. Stop being so loud, okay? Love you. Needed to cut the tension. Shout out to my son for helping cut the tension. But yeah, man, it's just this team has continually, like I said, showed a lack of heart than teams then are tanking. Teams that have no opportunity, right? That whole fourth quarter was BS. A bunch of it was. Right. And this is contrary to belief, right? This isn't a loss that you can just blame on any one of these Chicago Bulls players. This is a systematic thing. Systemic. That's what the problem with this team is. It's systemic. Everything going on with this team is literally rooted into the fiber of who the Chicago Bulls are. It is systemic. Give the Bulls credit for coming back 12 close game. It's cool, right? No, but you only get so much credit for that because, again, you had to fight back again because you played like a bunch of shit. So, yeah, you cleaned up your own shit. Cool. But let's not forget the reason why they were in that deficit to begin with is because they were playing like shit. So, cool, you came back. But why were you at that? Because you played like a bunch of crap. That's what you did. Billy Donovan just agreed that he gives players minutes based on performance. P. Will. See, listen. Billy Donovan, as much as, like I said this on the episode the other day. Billy Donovan is one of those people that's honest about everybody else's shit but his own. He'll tell you about injuries. He'll tell you what the medical staff won't tell you. He'll tell you that we're not making trades. He'll tell you that type of stuff. But when it comes to his own coaching, he ain't about to tell you, hey, yeah, I messed up. Hey, yeah, I sucked here. Hey, yeah, I don't know what I was doing here. He's lost his team. No respect by those players. No effort. I don't even listen. We've been seeing this for a while, though, right? Damn, I forget about the Nets game. Nonetheless, I don't think any ever thought this team was any good. No, bro. I'm not saying you did. But no, there were people that were literally arguing with me that this team could still get to 500. Literally arguing with me that this team could get to 500. There are people that literally a week ago were like, well, we're only 2 games out of the 5th seed while we were 1 game out of the 11th seed. So no, there were people that literally were convinced that this team was going to do something. I just don't understand why there's a being adverse to reality. It just doesn't make any sense, y'all. I'm not going to lie. After that L to the Hawks, I would have pulled off some trades the next day. Yeah, but I mean, that's just not realistic. You don't just pull trades off the next day. It's unfortunate, man. Exactly. Systemic. Only players that Acme have brought in with heart, dog, or Io, Booze, and Pat Bev. Yeah, it's Billy Donovan is a peanut. That's crazy. Is a peanut. That's wild. The players love Billy. The issue is that he doesn't have a desire to hold them to a standard that he also isn't an X and O's coach. So he has an ego manager on a team. So he's an ego manager on a team without stars who need ego management. I mean, the fact that the Bulls, like, there are teams without like leaders on the court that still can be good. You got to have a leader on your sideline. And Billy Donovan isn't that. Billy Donovan is a player's coach. And it's funny because Billy Donovan didn't have that reputation at first. You look at Billy Donovan when he first started with the OKC Thunder. He didn't have this reputation of like a player's coach, a guy that just gave things up to his players. Like Billy Donovan has whatever. I don't know if it's old age. I don't know if it's whatever it is. Billy Donovan is turned. He's soft. He's soft as a head coach. And when you have a team that lacks things like execution, when you have a team that lacks edge, that doesn't have identity, a soft coach ain't gonna get you nowhere, right? Like Billy Donovan could work for a team full of stars that are just hungry. They're older, maybe they hold each other accountable. We don't have that on this team, unfortunately. We don't have that. We don't have a team that holds each other accountable. We just don't. So, unfortunately, it is what it is, man. This team is going to continue to be where this team is. Until people start realizing that, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Haize, do you think P. Will be traded next month? He's too far. He's not going to be traded. Like he's not going to. P. Will is a problem. He's not the problem. This shit going on with this team is way too much to say anybody is the problem. Sorry, it's not. Nobody can be the problem. He's a problem on this team, full of a team with problems. But he's not the problem. And no, I don't think P. Will has any trade value right now. I don't think he has any trade value right now. To answer the other question, none of the players are hungry for success. Vets know they're over the hill. Zach knows he's not that guy, and the young guys have already. That's not true. Zach does, I believe, thinks he's the guy, and I don't think Vooch is over the hill, and I don't think he thinks Vooch is playing some of the best stuff that he has. It's just that you need the sum of the parts to work. Hey, is you going to call these podcasts next week doing these late? What? Yes. Why would I? What? Why would that stop me? I've never stopped. I literally, bro. We're at day 1,322 straight days. You think a West Coast trip is going to stop me? Are you new here? Are you new here? I seen the light. Listen, I'm glad that a lot of people are waking up, man. But to your point about Billy Donovan soft on accountability, I think the Zach LaVine situation a few seasons ago when he got benched, that Magic game for playing bad and bitched about it didn't help. Yeah, but he was kind of, I can agree. Like that probably did shell shock him a little bit for the little bit that he did have there. So if Patrick Williams can give us at least 50, that's not like, I'll tell you this. There's almost no world Patrick Williams is going to give you 15 and 8 tonight. There's just not. He's not that aggressive. It just isn't. So, it just is what it is when it comes down to it. Start Smith. I'm over the Paul experiment. Yeah, man. At the end of I don't know. You can't start Smith though, because then you have no backup center. So that's why they're not going to start Smith. Not to say that I don't think Smith. I think Smith and Vooch could actually work pretty well together. But because then what? Then you're playing P. Will as a small ball center. So you're still relying on P. Will. So yeah, I don't know. Hawks game was the worst game I've ever seen in my life, so I feel a little bit better. Hey, that game was terrible. That game was terrible. But yeah. Oh man. It really sucks that this is the place that our team has gotten to, man. Like, and listen, let me be, maybe this is by design. We got the most tank in America. Maybe that's it. Maybe we're running into a place that AK is finally ahead of the curve. Remember this. It was said that there was going to be a 35 game evaluation. After game 35, which was the New York Knicks game, the Bulls have been pretty questionable. We did win that next game, but we've been pretty questionable since then. He said it was going to be a 35 game evaluation. So maybe he did just that. Came in 35 games. And remember, Billy Donovan said, "Oh, we're not tanking it." Like around right after the Knicks game, AK put in that call. AK said, Hey, Billy, yeah. You know how you said that nobody told you to tank? Yeah, this is that call. This is that call, Billy. This is that call. So, it is what it is, man. It is what it is when it comes down to it. All I can say is this. The frustrations that everybody feels with this team are valid. It's loud. And the Bulls have a chance to keep their pick, which is something that I did say at the beginning of the season. There is a chance that this Bulls team makes no trades and still keeps their pick. And I'll tell you what, if you keep, and I know it's a thin margin, if you keep your top 10 pick without giving up Zach LaVine, without giving up Vooch, okay. But here's what I'll say. It's going to be really interesting to watch the draft lottery and watch how this team, if they do keep their top 10 pick, does that then now finally, because maybe, and this is just me trying to rationalize, right? Maybe once this team has their top 10 pick, let's say that the draft lottery goes through, they keep their pick. Maybe they then will say, all right, now that we know we're going to have the draft pick, we can sell people off and we maybe can take a little bit less than their value. Maybe, right? I'm just saying maybe. Chris Carvinio, bro, feels like they are tanking. We've seen this team play good. It's kind of odd. The game Billy played Duarte was questionable. It was. It very much so was. Any other franchise would make trades or fire head coach after these type of results? If we can get a first for Vooch, which I think we can, we should take. Oh, facts. If you can get a first for Vooch, you take it. If you can get a first for Vooch, you absolutely take it, I think. I think that's hands down. I'm going to need to take an annual leave day on draft lottery day. Hey, listen, it is what it is, man. Do you trade that pick for a start? No. Lloyd, bro, come on, Lloyd. Come on, bro. Come on. What? Stop asking questions and think. No, you don't trade it for a star. People look like he drinks sheep's milk at halftime. I mean, you got to build up that immunity. Who are you drafting if we keep our pick if we're not in the top 5? Kaman Malowik is one that I really like. I really like him a lot. VJ Edgecombe is another guy that I like in this draft that I think could help the Bulls a lot, depending on exactly where the Bulls draft at. He's somebody that could fall around that area. And Asa Newell. Those have been the guys that I've been focused on this whole entire time. So sorry, I don't know drafts. Y'all, you good, bro. I just like to mess with you, man. If the Warriors are calling on Vooch, AK, despite his lack of intelligence in anything basketball operations, should demand their 2025 pick flat out, no protections. Can they trade? I know that I know there's some picks that they can't trade. Can they trade their 2025 pick? Hold on, I can tell you. Give me 1 second. So the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, I guess they can trade their pick. So, hey. Haize, how can this team get better? Is there any light at the end of this tunnel? I mean, development and draft. I mean, that's the only thing that I can really think of. And hope. Like, you're gonna need some lucky. You're gonna need some luck. Asa, yeah, I like Asa Newell a lot. And I think that if the Bulls draft Asa Newell, that means that P. Will's going to the bench. And I love the prospect of Asa Newell and Matas Buzelis being your 3 and your 4 for the next 8 years. I really love that. Let them develop over the next 3-4 years. And I think you can have a nice, versatile, aggressive. One thing you won't have to worry about with Asa Newell got that dog in him. He's not going to be passive P. And I think if you can get Asa Newell in here, you can pair him next to Matas Buzelis, You got two forwards that are going to be dogs, that are going to be physical, that are going to get to work. And Asa Newell can maybe develop into a small ball center. Now, I don't know if you want that, right? 6'10", about Vucevic's size. But listen, Asa Newell, I love Asa Newell in this draft. I'm not going to lie to you. The more and more tape I watch on Asa Newell, I like the kid even more. Asa Newell is a dog. Watch out for Asa Newell, man. Asa Newell is so underrated in the draft. He should be a top 5 in my opinion, but a lot of draft projections have him around 11th, which means he should be available if teams are sleeping. Well, but the thing to look out for is I do think that once the draft combine starts and they start doing the one-on-ones, Asa Newell is a player that could shoot up draft boards. Watch what I'm telling you guys. Asa Newell is one of those guys that I really do think once the draft combine starts, once they start going through those drills, and especially when they start doing the 5-on-5s, not 1-on-1s. Once they start doing the 5-on-5s, I think Asa Newell can shoot straight up the draft board because he has that dog in him. That dog. And he's physical, man. It wouldn't be no more of that soft shit. I can tell you that one. Wouldn't be no more of that. Thought I heard music playing. Development for Matas maybe, but I'm thinking everybody else is already mostly where they're going to be. I mean, you never know, right? Because like you saw Coby take a huge leap in year 5, right? So there's always that chance that somebody could, but I see where you're coming from with that for sure. I think it's too early to say that about Julian. I think Julian has barely begun to scratch the surface. And I still think Dalen has a little bit left to uncover, but I don't know how high those ceilings are, so to say. So why do people hate on Acme's drafting? He's done pretty good. No, he's not. I'm sorry. No, he hasn't. He's done okay, but you can't look at it and say, like, let's look at it. Io, yes, he done a great job with Io. Great job with Io. P. Will, Dalen Terry, Julian Phil. We still don't know what these guys are yet. So I can't say that he's done an okay job. Now, I think if those guys continue to ascend, you could say he's done a better job, but we just don't know. Matas, right? I feel pretty good Matas is going to be good, but yeah, I don't know, man. Coby was super efficient today, which is good to see. Yeah, he was efficient today. It seemed like he realized, hey, let me not take a bunch of shots. Let me take smart shots, right? So we'll see. I want Malawak and Kalkbrenner. That's a hell of a name in this draft. If the Bulls can grab another pick for this next draft out of a trade, then grab Asa Newell and Hugo Gonzalez is another one of my guys as well. I like Hugo Gonzalez a lot. Iowa's been the best pick so far. The best pick so far. Say what you want about guard packs, but I guarantee you they would have 2 or 3 picks in this loaded draft. Acme would know that. What did guard pack? Not the Pax era. People got to learn to separate that. When Pax was the GM, it's very different than the guard packs era. Tell me when Gar Foreman as the GM had multiple picks in the loaded draft. Go and look. You're going to be shocked because he didn't. So to say that you guarantee that, you didn't. Now, Pax as the GM was a very different thing. Very different thing. Gar Foreman as the GM, Gar Foreman didn't have a lot of, like, Gar Foreman's draft history really wasn't that good. I think you can add Coby to that, but Gar really, it was Coby and it was Jimmy. That's really all that Gar has to him. Now, he got tremendous value out of Jimmy Butler. Tremendous value out of Jimmy Butler. But most of the Bulls draft picks that we look at weren't Gar Foreman draft picks. Dog, Acme hasn't drafted well. Io was a no-brainer, second round pick. No, you can't say that was a no-brainer. Io was not. That's revisionist history. Now, I agree with you. Acme hasn't drafted well, but Io was not a no-brainer. He wasn't a no-brainer. There would have been a lot of people that would have passed up on Io. Another thing you have to factor in with Acme's drafting history is, did they draft the right player available like Walker Kessler and Halliburton? Yeah, but I mean, you could look at that with any GM. So you can't and you can't say what are you going to say because they didn't draft well, it's not drafted at all anymore? No, that you're not going to do that. So most draft picks are not going to pan out. Now, unless you're a lucky team and you're a really, really smart GM. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, what Acme wasn't drafting for the right player. They were trying to draft for upside, which came back to bite them in their ass, right? Exactly. Garpax would have traded up for Doug. Like, that's the thing, right? The draft that we did have multiple picks for, we combined them for Doug McDermott. That's the crazy part, right? Now, we did have multiple draft picks in that draft, and we traded them to move up to get Dougie Buckets. Just saying. I need to take a look at some highlights. No, don't watch highlights. See, listen, don't do highlights. Anybody can look good in highlights. Watch tape. Watch tape is what I'm saying. So watch tape, not highlights. Tape shows you everything good and bad. Don't just watch highlights. Anybody can. I can cut a highlight video that'll make make you think Denzel Valentine was a dog. Don't watch highlights. Watch tape. So I'm just saying that. I'm just saying. A-Drip, it's pointless what Acme and Billy do respectfully because, yes, they're bad at their jobs, but Jerry doesn't hold anybody accountable for their job performance. I mean, Jerry is hands-off in general. He's never held anybody, so that's not Jerry's job. But I will say this, if Jerry cared more about winning, he would probably have made a move. But like I told you guys before, anybody who has the president of basketball operations job is going to hold that position for close to a decade. We got at least 5 or 6 more years of Acme, or at least AK. So, but all right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.